Good morning and welcome back. As you can see, I'm outside this beautiful location once again. Don't lose yourself in the why. Why am I feeling what I'm feeling? Why is this happening to me? Why did this person say that? Why does my mind keep spinning and spinning? Why can't I stop overthinking? Why can't I get the job I always wanted? Why is life so hard? Taking a why inside yourself can be extremely useful, but also you can lose yourself if you go into a why and unendingly, if you just continually take the why too deep and don't allow the lessons that you see along your journey through the question of why, if you don't take on those lessons and allow them to sink in. And also, if you don't develop a certain level of attention, to develop your attention span to be able to hold a thought for a certain amount of time, for length of time, then your why might just jump from one why to another why and another and another. And each why is this and why is that, might accumulate. And next thing you know, you feel extremely overwhelmed. This is where a panic attack might set in. If you take a why inward, but you're not open to being deeply honest with yourself, because sometimes what you see you may not like. And if you're not open to being deeply honest with yourself, what you see might cause your ego to run in fear or attack. Because the reason you take a why inside yourself is to ultimately find that it doesn't matter. It's ultimately to find that all why questions all lead to the same point, the same place within you. On a deeper level, when you see that it's just the way it is, all why questions eventually come to this point. A person can lose themselves for years and years and years, psychotherapy and all these different therapy type sessions where they'll go and speak to someone and go into their past and try to figure out why I do what I do. It's almost the same thing as going into the question, why does my stomach and chest inflate when I breathe in and deflate when it goes out? It's almost as though you go into that question looking for some sort of rest after you found the conclusion. It's almost as if you go into that type of question expecting it to stop happening, expecting your chest to stop rising and belly to stop rising when you breathe in and falling when you breathe out. At some point, we need to come to the realization that the mind, and I'll use an example that you hear often in spirituality, is just like waves on the surface of the ocean. Your thoughts I'm speaking about, and the emotions that are related to the thoughts. And the only reason you take a why so deeply inside yourself is because you'd like those waves to stop. Can I ask you seriously, do you think that's possible? And if the waves stopped, then what? What are you going to achieve from that? Taking a why inside yourself, if you're not open and truly honest with yourself, is more of a philosophical, my God, I can't even speak certain words, philosophical question. And in that way, it doesn't have an end, and it becomes an obsession. It becomes another type of ego fragment that you created to try to solve the problem of you. You can't solve yourself. A hammer or a nail, a nail can't nail itself into a board. You see, you're missing the whole point if you go too far into the question why within yourself. Because the reason you take a why question deep inside is to see that it just is. In the end, you'll see this for yourself. Then you have to, or a lot of people will struggle with the whole idea of, well, if that's how it is, then I don't want to be part of it. And if you get to that point and you don't see any, that is where you are and there's no escaping it, then go into that as well. Because from what I've found in my experience, after I've gotten to the point in my life where it felt to me, what's the point then? My pain deepened. And oftentimes I say stuff, especially on my Instagram channel, that pain is the great transformer. It is what changes a person. I use often the example of putting your hand on fire. And the minute your hand feels the sensation of being burned, you don't even need your mind to figure out that you just take your hand off. The instant you feel the depth of that pain, you don't even have to think, okay, well, this is extremely painful, I probably should take my hand away. No, it happens. So if you leave the why and you see that at the borderline of the borders of your why questioning is a well of pain, and it's a deeper level of pain, then go into it with some courage. Go into that pain, because the same way your hand moves away from the fire automatically, when you feel enough pain that is generated by your mind itself, in the same way that you've been hurt too many times in a relationship, you eventually just leave. Something comes up inside of you, a strength that you didn't know was there, appears out of nowhere, and you just drop the whole thing. And it's not that the mind just stops working. It's that you realize it's insane to be upset every time you take a breath in and every time you take a breath out. You realize it's insane to be upset when you notice your chest rising from the breath in and declining from the chest out. It seems obvious, doesn't it? It is insane to be upset every time you see a wave appear on the surface of the ocean. It becomes obvious that it's insane to be upset when your mind is thinking thoughts you don't like. And also insane to indulge deeply and expect that pleasant thoughts will always stay there. At some point, in the same way you don't even give a second thought to the rising of your chest, to the cresting of the waves in the ocean, to the arising of positive or negative thoughts in your mind, you can learn to transcend and look past at the happening that is the radiance of the Rigpa. That's what the Buddhists call it, the radiance of your mind. There's energy all around us. When you turn on a light, the light shines. When you turn on your car, the motors. When you ring a bell, it rings, it resonates. In a space approximately a foot square, there's enough energy to boil the oceans in the entire world, all of the world's oceans. In your mind, there's a constant flow of energy. In your body, we are surrounded, we are energy, and the mind thinks. So when you become upset that you feel a negative feeling arising in you, it's insanity. It's insanity. When you become upset that a positive feeling is leaving you, you're insane in that moment. How many times have you felt good and then felt bad and then felt good and then felt bad? How many times have you gone through this cycle? How many times does a wave lift and crest, lift and crest? How many times does the moon have to go around the earth? How many times do you have to go from positive thoughts to negative thoughts to realize that it just happens? Learning to accept this might be difficult, but you don't have to accept that the waves lift and crash, do you? Again, as I mentioned, once you feel enough depth of pain, because if the fire wasn't that hot, you might not need to move your hand away from it. And when you realize and when you see certain things are very silly and stupid because you feel it on a deepest level, then you immediately drop the whole thing. You see what you've been doing. So take your why questions inside yourself, openly, be honest with yourself. When you hit the wall of truth, don't keep banging your head against it. Wherever you are around the world, whatever time it is that you're watching this video, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. Peace.